Hello, everyone. It's your 3 favorite presidents back with another tier list. Yes, we're together again. After Joe and I confronted Donald at GameStop, we went back to my house and had a sleepover for the ages.
Hey, Donald, remember when you and I prank called Prince William and pretended we were his mom and that she was still alive?
I do, Joe. It was great. I can only imagine the look on his face when he showed up at the coordinates where we told him to meet her, and it was her grave.
You two are kind of fucked, but we all are war criminals, so I guess it's not the worst we've done.
Definitely not the worst you've done. How many weddings did you bomb? 2, 3?
5, but the UN classified those as epic gamer moves, so I can't be prosecuted.
Hey, Barack, can you give me the number of the UN?
Sure, Joe, but why?
Let's just say something happened at Chuck E. Cheese last week, and I was hoping they could classify that as an epic gamer move, too.
Oh, God, Joe, please tell me you didn't rape any children.
My lawyer has advised me not to answer that question.
That's deeply concerning, Joe. I think I'll send along the name of a good mental hospital along with the number of the UN.
That'd be great, buddy. Thanks.
Now that is over with, let's get back to why we're here. At our sleepover, the 3 of us decided to take a friend's vacation, and we chose that on that vacation, we'll be going to Hershey Park.
I love Hershey Park. It's literally a candy and an amusement park. My 2 favorite things in the world.
You realize Hershey Park isn't actually candy, Donald, right?
I did not realize that because it's not true. Hershey Park is candy. Everything at the park is edible.
I'm not disputing the fact that you could potentially consume everything at the park, but that doesn't make it candy.
Agree to disagree, Barack. Get on with the list.
Right, so we've decided to do a tier list of all roller coasters at Hershey Park. This year, as I'm sure all of you know, Wildcat is being replaced with Wildcat's Revenge. But since we haven't ridden it yet, we'll rank the original ride.
I'm not a big thrill seeker, but I like the occasional roller coaster. I was even there when Raoul Erb Kozer, a Lithuanian immigrant, came up with the idea for the roller coaster. We had taken the trolley up to the old sledding hill to meet Arnie the Art Aardvark. He wasn't a full aardvark, mind you, just a half one, and my crush at the time, Harriet Beecher Stowe. Anyway, Raoul wondered what it would be like if you put the trolley tracks on the hill so you could ride down it year-round. The rest is history.
Pretty sure none of that happened, but moving on. The first coaster on our list is the Comet. It's the oldest coaster at Hershey Park, being built in 1946 by Philadelphia Toboggan Coasters. It reaches a maximum speed of 50 miles an hour and features...
Jesus Christ, Barack, no one wants to hear your silly roller coaster facts. All that matters is whether the coaster puts the fear of death into you and hopefully makes you a little hard by the end.
I think that the coaster heads out there will appreciate our putting some research into the tier list. And a coaster is more than just how thrilling it is. Track design is a complex art.
Shut the fuck up, Barack.
You don't have to be so angry, buddy.
I'm not trying to, but sometimes he just gets to me, Joe. It's just like at Six Flags last year where we missed the chance to ride King Dakar because he was arguing with the ride operator over whether it used hydraulic or pneumatic power.
Hydraulic.
It doesn't matter, you know.
Hey guys, can we just finish one tier list peacefully?
Fine, I'll calm down.
And I'll cut out some of my coaster trivia for time.
Great, so I'm a big fan of the Comet. It's not too intense, and that's just how I like it. And it reminds me of what roller coasters were like back when I was only in my early 130s. I'd put it in S tier.
I agree. It's an S-tier coaster purely for its legacy and significance to the history of the park.
I'd put this nowhere over C personally, but since you two love it so much, I guess we can go S.
Thanks, buddy.
Anything for you, Joe?
See how great things can be when we get along?
It is nice. Next up is Wild Mouse.
Too scary, too scary. I always feel I'm going to fall out of the sides of the cart when it tilts.
As for me, I think it's a baby coaster. I mean, anything Peter Dinklage is tall enough to ride isn't for people who have surpassed Joe's maximum age limit. Last time I checked, that was 12.
It does have a surprisingly low height requirement, but it's still considered an aggressive thrill ride by the park.
I don't care, it's a baby coaster. I'd put it in F tier, but there's an even babier coaster coming up, so I'll go D tier.
I'm not a big fan of it, but I think D might be too low. I'd put it in C tier. It's not amazing, but it's got its fun moments. Joe?
F tier.
Okay, so it's your lucky day, Trump. It's going in D. Now we have Great Bear. This is an iconic Hershey Park coaster. It's inverted, and it's got tons of loops. I'm sure that does it for you, Donald.
It sure does, Barack. When I get off this ride, I can barely walk with the home run slugger I have between my legs. This is a solid S-tier coaster.
I don't like it. I've never been able to ride it without closing my eyes.
You close your eyes on coasters, Sleepy Joe? That's what divorced suburban dads tell their crybaby kids to do, so they ride things other than the teacups.
Ooh, the teacups. I love those. Are those on this list S tier?
No, Joe. The teacups aren't a roller coaster, so they're not on this list. Donald, it seems like we're going to have to take point on this one. I like it, but I don't think it's quite S tier. I'd put it in A tier.
I don't love it, but I can live with it.
Okay, so it's going in A tier. The fourth on our list is Candymonium.
Such a mid-coaster. It's better than the baby ones, but it never gets more intense than softcore porn. The only cool thing about it is the fact that the lap bar is made of chocolate.
I'm pretty sure the lap bar is made of reinforced steel, but I agree it's a mid-coaster. It's part of Hershey Park's recent trend to be family-friendly. It's C tier at best.
This one I don't mind. It's got none of those spooky flips or twisteroos, and you get a great view of the fountain at the end. Plus, there are always many pretty young ladies on school trips in the line. I'd put it in A tier.
So, do we just ignore him, Barack?
No, Donald, Joe's opinion matters too. At least until the FBI comes and takes him to jail. For him, let's put it in B tier. A little note for people at home. We've agreed to just stick with the tiers we have. No pluses or minuses. Our musical tier list became a mess with most of the shows going into added tiers.
Yeah, that was so gay.
You were the reason we had to do that, Donald.
No need to relitigate the past, Barack. Get to the next coaster.
Our next coaster is the Cocoa Cruiser.
Baby shit. Put it in F tier.
Wait, I like this one.
Joe, I want you to consider long and hard what you're going to say next. You've been saying a lot of sus things today, and it's making me think that your, let's say, affection for younger people has gotten too severe.
What's wrong with liking little girls?
For fuck's sake, Sleepy Joe, you're not even trying to hide it anymore.
I'm not a pedophile. I just like looking at little girls.
Joe, please, for all of us, don't say any more.
And it's nice to gently rub a girl's shoulders, too. Maybe smell her hair a little. Kiss her neck.
Quick, Barack, mute him.
Okay, he's muted.
First of all, put this in F tier. Next, we need to talk about Joe. What are we going to do?
I don't know. I've told Jill about all this, and she doesn't seem that concerned. I also visited Hunter to try and talk to him about it, but he was fully naked with the largest erection I've ever seen, painting what looked like the carpet of a 90s movie theater.
I hate so much that Hunter has a big dick.
Could it be the drugs?
No, I'll be honest. I did my fair share in the 80s, and I saw no growth at all in my downstairs region.
That sucks. How about we just keep going with the list for a little? Then we'll unmute Joe when we think he's worn himself out.
Works for me.
The next coaster is Super Duper Looper. I know you're not a fan of coaster facts, but I think it's worth saying that this was the first looping roller coaster on the East Coast when it opened.
Really? That's pretty cool, not gonna lie.
Thanks, Donald. It's nice for my knowledge to be appreciated.
Anytime. Yeah, this is a solid coaster. It's not a crazy good one, but it's a reliable one. There's rarely much of a line either, so you can probably hit this twice or maybe even 3 times during the time it takes you to ride other ones once. I'd put it in B tier.
B tier sounds good to me. Our next coaster is Storm Runner.
Let me start, Barack, because Storm Runner is my favorite coaster at Hershey Park. It's not quite King to Ka, but it's close. That first hill is insane, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat until you come back into the station. It's also awesome how you can watch the coaster as it launches.
That's true. I remember when it first opened, there would be crowds watching people's faces as this coaster shot up that first hill. When you're on the ride, it's even crazier. There's the announcer's voice counting down and the eyes of the people on the ground. Even if you wanted to get off at that point, you couldn't. There's an exciting inevitability that gets the heart racing before you've even begun.
S tier?
An easy S tier in my book.
Next one is Jolly Rancher Remix. Sleepy Joe might like this one. Want to get him?
Sure, I'll unmute him.
Oh, how I wish I were still a little boy and I could take any little girl I wanted to the soda fountain. Then after I'd bring her back to the corn crib.
We'll give him more time. Now, Jolly Rancher Remix was, until the last few years, known as the Sidewinder.
That's right, and I hate the rebrand, to be honest. The Sidewinder had character. Jolly Rancher Remix just seems like a soulless corporate coaster.
It's still the same coaster, though, and a unique one at that. The whole thing is a pretty short track that you go over multiple times, forward and backwards. It's an interesting idea for a coaster, and a go-to, if you're visiting Hershey Park for the first time.
Sure, it's a nice gimmick, but it's still just a gimmick. I'd put it no higher than low B tier.
B tier sounds right.
Okay, if we don't let Pedo Joe rank Laugh Track, he'll haunt us when he dies in a week, so let's let him back in and hope he won't say anything illegal.
Joe, are you there?
Fucking Sleepy Joe. Wake up, Methuselah.
Wait, what? Where am I?
You're on your computer, helping us make a roller coaster tier list.
Oh, that's right. Where were we?
We just got to Laugh Track.
Oh boy, I love Laugh Track. It's so fun, even if those clown faces are a little spooky. It reminds me of the carnivals of my youth. I just wish that Hershey Park had a section of freaks like they did. There were the classics like the bearded lady and Down syndrome kid. Nowadays, those are just the cashiers at McDonald's. But there were also the obscure freaks, the men with 2 penises or women who could read.
Let's stick with talking about coasters.
Fine, I like it a lot. I'd put it in S tier.
Too high for me, Barack. It's another gimmick coaster, and it isn't even remotely intense. I'd put it in D tier.
I don't know about D tier. It's a lot of fun, especially if you come with your kids.
I'm sure Baron would love to ride it, but luckily he's too tall.
It's funny you brought that up, Donald. Is Baron okay? I saw a photo of him last week standing in a pool used to teach scuba diving with his head above the water still.
Probably not. I think he's cursed. I once called a Jamaican woman the N-word for coming in to use the bathroom at the plaza in the 90s. Before you get angry, Barack, white people were allowed to say it back then.
They definitely weren't, but I won't push the matter.
Anyway, she said some mumbo-jumbo voodoo juju at me. All I heard was sun and giraffe. So I think she cursed Baron to keep growing until he becomes a giraffe. I don't really care either way. He's like my least favorite after Tiffany.
Your apathy for the well-being of your children always shocks me. It's made me honestly forget where we had landed on Laugh Track. I'll put it in C tier because it's empty. Now we have Lightning Racer.
Finally, a good gimmick coaster.
Doesn't Thunder always win? Or is it Lightning?
Whatever side I'm on always wins.
That's statistically impossible.
And yet it's true.
I heard that the ride operator decides who wins based on which side cheers the loudest.
I don't think that's right either. But whatever it is, the racing roller coaster idea is super original and very fun. Furthermore, it makes that line move quite fast. I don't think I've ever waited more than 30 minutes for Lightning Racer. Perhaps a hot take, but I'll put it in A tier.
I agree. It's not that intense, but it's cool, so A tier is a good spot for it.
I'll go A tier too.
4 coasters left, boys. Let's pick up the pace a little. What are our thoughts on Fahrenheit?
The first and only time I rode this, I thought I was going to die.
That tracks.
The 97-degree drop is insane. The rest of the coaster is just confused bullshit. I have an iron stomach and have never gotten sick on a roller coaster, but I don't blame Sleepy Joe for getting sick on this one.
No cap on that, Donald. It's like the designers did that one drop, then just put random shit for the rest like they were playing Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Hey, we should do a Roller Coaster Tycoon tier list next.
Like a tier list of the games or the missions or what?
I don't know. I didn't think that far.
Then let's give that idea a tentative no. I think Fahrenheit is a D tier coaster.
D tier is about right. This is a thrill ride done wrong.
Next up is Sky Rush.
Remember when this ride first came out? It was impossible to get on the thing all summer.
I usually like to wait in coaster lines, even though I don't have to, because it allows you to slowly get excited as you reach the front. But I'll be honest, I paid to get to the front of the Sky Rush line. It was total bullshit, and it wasn't really worth it. Don't get me wrong, it isn't the worst they got, but it's barely a step above Candymonium. It's the cool mom of roller coasters. C tier.
You always have the perfect metaphor for things, Donald.
It's because I'm an amazing orator, the modern-day Socrates.
I'll agree the coaster is nothing special, but C tier is probably too low. When the line isn't long, it's a good coaster to ride in between intense ones. Gives you a little break. I'd say B tier. Joe?
This is about as crazy as I'll get roller coaster-wise. I end up a little wet between the legs when it goes sideways, but it's still fun.
Did you get wet because you're a woman and it turned you on?
No, I peed myself.
You're a brave and stupid man to admit that.
Thank you, Donald. That means a lot.
Wasn't a compliment.
Let's put this in B tier. 2 left. First is Trailblazer.
Have you guys ever wondered if you could touch the ground if you reached out on this ride? I mean, you get so close.
I know what you mean, but that can't possibly be true. No chance they would have designed it that way. And if they had, we'd constantly be hearing about people losing their arms.
Not if everyone just thought about it but never tried.
Well, I'm certainly not trying.
Neither am I. Hey, Joe?
What, buddy?
You should try to touch the ground the next time you ride Trailblazer.
Sure thing.
Donald, don't.
Don't you want to find out?
Maybe just a single finger, Joe.
Okay.
But what do we rate it? How about B tier?
That's fine. It's the coolest of the baby coasters because you can pretend to be an old-timey miner on his way to get undiagnosed lung cancer.
Now we're up to the last coaster, Wildcat. I'm not sure how similar Wildcat's Revenge is going to be, but no matter what, the true original Wildcat is lost to the ages. Where should we put it?
This ride was so bumpy. I always felt like one of those xylophone skeletons from blackface cartoons when I wrote it.
That's what made it fun. It was the excitement of being on a genuinely risky ride. It had no tricks, but it was probably dangerous, and that makes it legendary. It's an S-tier wooden coaster, if there's such a thing.
It was never my favorite ride, but I had many fun times on it, and I think we'll say goodbye to this classic by putting it in S tier. So long, old friend.
I'll ride you in heaven, Wildcat. Too bad they don't let Democrats in, or I'd invite you to.
So that's the list, and I should point out that we got through it without any serious fighting.
I think the time apart we had did us all some good.
Agreed. We now know just how important we all are to each other.
As agreed, we're all meeting at Joe's for kettle corn and front row coaster videos, but let's end this video by saying we're going to be filming our Hershey Park adventure and putting it up for everyone to see. So keep an eye out for that in a few weeks. And maybe some other tier lists or different things before then.
I can't believe we're finally internet celebrities.
I've always been an internet celebrity in addition to a real celebrity, but live it up, Sleepy Joe. Just don't become a Discord mod.
Why?
Don't worry about it.
I'll second that. Goodbye, everyone.